It is week 11 of the midweek check-in. If you have made it this far and you're still joining us every single week consistently, you need to congratulate yourself, because I know that going through Reboot is not an easy process. So congratulations on making it this far. I'm proud of you. You are almost there. Let's finish strong together. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes it feels like I can take one step forward and two steps back. Sometimes it can feel like the progress I made doesn't stick. It doesn't last. Sometimes, in fact, not only external factors can keep me from making progress, but sometimes, you know who my own worst enemy can be? Myself. Sometimes I can self-sabotage. And that's actually the topic that we're going to be discussing today. I've invited Jess Hall from our team. She leads a lot of our courses. She's led more than almost anybody else, and she leads a lot of our international efforts as well. And so Jess is going to talk to us today about this problem of self-sabotaging and how you and I can overcome that obstacle in our healing journey. Jess, take it away.
I want to start out today with a question. Have you ever tried to make changes in your life only to end up in the same place over and over and over again? If this sounds familiar, it's possible, or maybe even probable, that you might be self-sabotaging. And before we get started, I want to give credit where credit's due. A lot of what I'm sharing today was pulled from teachings by Ranella Adsit, and she's an expert on this subject. So I'm going to be leaning a lot on her words today to help guide us. In last week's session, we talked about how to restore stability in our lives. We learned that the road from safety to stability is rife with obstacles. Today, I'm going to talk about one of the biggest obstacles to our healing from trauma, and that is self-sabotage. We're going to explore the reasons why we self-sabotage, and we're going to talk about how to detect the signs when we are. I hope this brings you some practical tools for overcoming the self-sabotage cycle. There are times when we consciously or unconsciously undermine our relationships, our job opportunities, our achievements, even our dreams. Anytime we do something that causes problems in our lives or restricts our positive development, that's self-sabotage. In its most pure form, self-sabotage is like locking yourself in a prison of your own making. And the walls of this prison are formed through bricks of our own beliefs, our lack of self-esteem, our past experiences, our self-attacking speech. And since we're the ones building the prison, getting out can seem nearly impossible. Over the years, we've seen countless people make progress after Reboot, only to self-sabotage and essentially bring destruction back into their own lives. We can sabotage ourselves a number of ways. Some are obvious, but some are a bit harder to recognize. So today, going everybody's favorite, I'm going to ask some personal questions as we go through this, as we reflect on whether or not you're still sabotaging your own healing process. If any of these stick out to you, it might be worth writing them down in your field guide. One of the symptoms that we're self-sabotaging is that we have a distorted view of ourselves. Do you find yourself fixating or ruminating on the negatives about yourself? Are you constantly putting yourself down, underestimating your own worth? Do you constantly compare yourself with others? Do you have a victim mentality? If so, let's call it what it is. That is a distorted sense of self. Sometimes we can self-sabotage our own healing by undermining the way that we relate to others. Do you find yourself pushing other people away? Self-isolating? Do you sometimes pick fights with your spouse or partner or other family members or friends? Do you fall into a trap of dating people who you know aren't right for you? Are you in a habit of always blaming others when things go wrong? Again, if so, write that down. Be honest with yourself. Those things undermine your relationships. Some of us sabotage ourselves through the negative way that we view our lives and our situations. The reality is the grass, it's never greener. We find fault in everything and everybody, and then every challenge that we face, it's not seen as an opportunity for growth, but we see it as another event in a lifelong series of bad luck events. You might be caught in a trap of thinking, things are never going to go my way. Again, it might be tough to admit, but if so, now's the time to get honest with yourself. And here's the final reason for self-sabotage. It's fear. Truthfully, the most common underlying cause for our self-sabotage is fear. We sabotage ourselves because we're afraid, and sometimes we're afraid of failure. Sometimes we're afraid of success. Sometimes we fear intimacy or we fear rejection. Sometimes it's just easier to self-sabotage than to let ourselves believe that things might actually turn out well, or to let ourselves get our hopes up. And so out of fear, we try to control everything around us, even if that means settling for less. And then out of fear, we procrastinate, we avoid. And then for those of us who have experienced trauma, fear, it's already an all too familiar feeling. Perhaps we used to be confident and proactive, but now our fear gets the best of us. And essentially, we give up on things or ourselves before we even start. By no means, I'm aware, this is not an exhaustive list of the ways that we can self-sabotage. But if you find yourself unable to make progress due to self-sabotage, here's a few tools that might help. First, identify the behaviors, right? You can't fix what you don't know, okay? So which of the methods that I just gave you that feeling of, yikes, that could be me, that could be me? Again, let's take an honest look at our own tendencies. Do you go to a place of fear? Are you or have you become a negative person? Have you lost the ability to find the positives or potentials in situations? Do you undermine relationships? Do you have a distorted view of yourself that leads you to shoot down your potential? Identifying sabotaging tendencies is critical to reversing those trends. So the first thing is to identify them. The second thing is to identify negative dialogue. Many times we procrastinate because there's so many things running through our mind. There's these voices that cause us to feel like a failure or that make us feel fearful. I can't say that very well. But there's a lot of things that would go under this idea. In most instances of self-sabotage, there is a negative dialogue happening behind the scenes of the behavior itself. In other words, we talk ourselves into failure. And those voices, they might be things that other people have said to us, or it might be our own voice. Either way, it might be beneficial for you to set aside some time for self-reflection and prayer, to ask God to help you identify the root causes of those things that lead to your self-sabotaging. And here's the third thing, is to determine, to discover, and then to choose to live out the truth. So you've identified the ways that you're sabotaging, and then even working through the identifying sources and sounds of the negative dialogue that's causing it. And now it's time to choose to live in truth. Take time to pray, get into the Word, self-reflect, make time and be intentional. Take a lunch break, take a little break during the weekend, go for a walk, go for a drive. Whenever you can, set aside time and ask this question. What is God teaching me in this so that I can grow and be challenged to break free of negative self-sabotaging? What's God teaching me through this? So instead of looking at a situation and just seeing the negative, take a step back and say, what is God teaching me? How is He going to use this to make me a more complete version of myself? 1 John 4:18 says, there's no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. So get out of your own head. Surrender the illusion of control. You know it's not there anyway. Feed your faith, and your fears will starve to death. Learn to walk and live in God's perfect love. And when you have that relationship with God, you can face all those challenges. You can even face your own self-sabotage. Imagine the potential you'd have if you stopping yourself from reaching it. The world needs the full version of you, and so do we. You're in the home stretch of Trauma Reboot. Keep putting in the work. We're proud of you. Your course leader is proud of you. But most of all, you should feel your own confidence growing as you continue to chase down your own healing. We'll see you back here next week for our final midweek check-in.